All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to our, what month is this? November 2025 Capital Improvements Committee meeting. And I wanted to thank all the volunteers in the audience who showed up for our Let's Go Clean Up a School and Dig Ditches Day. Ms. Davidson, you have all their names. All right, you'll be getting shovels and work schedules later. We sure appreciate our volunteers here in Chatham County. Just seeing if everybody was awake. All right. So we had our safety briefing. We did our call to order. I'll entertain a motion to approve our August minutes. Ms. Hall moves. Ms. Campbell seconds. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes. Next item on our agenda, approval of our November 18, 2025 agenda. Ms. Grabowski moves, Ms. Hall seconds. All in favor? Aye. It passes. And with that, we'll move on to our financials. Ms. Clark?
Let's see. Can you see? Okay. Okay. This first slide is slide 7, and this is the revenue tax collections. So for East Loss 3, we received 60 of 60 months at $425 million. For East Lost 4, 45 months at $477.3 million. And this is through September tax collections. So East Loss 5 starts with October taxes, which will be posted in November. So you'll see that posted with our next financials.
Have we gotten clarity from the state on our E4 collection ceiling?
Yes, next October, which posts in November, will be E5 collections.
Okay, but did they tell us what our maximum collection amount for E4 was?
I don't recall the maximum amount.
Okay.
I just had a email that we started with the October taxes.
All right.
But I can get that email for you. Okay, the next slide is tax collection graph. This slide is a graph of monthly tax revenue collections for East Loss 4 for calendar year 2022 to date. So for calendar year 24, we received an average of $10.81 million per month, and for calendar year 25, an average of $10.82 million per month. Okay. The next slide is an East Loss 3 revenue summary. So you'll see East Loss 3 remains open, and we will continue to collect interest on our funds until all the projects are closed and expended. The next one is East Loss 4, and we have received a total of $511 million. That includes the transfers, the TABIT interest, E-rate, capital outlay, in addition to the East Loss. Okay, we have a graph of E5. The revenue for E5 is a $60 million general fund transfer as part of that original budget. In October, so this is financials as of October 31st, which would include the September taxes. So when we receive the October taxes, then we will start posting that to the E5 revenue. Oops, wrong way, didn't I? Okay, the next few slides are a reconciliation of unallocated funds. So that's for a total of the current unallocated balance for East Loss 3 is $3,646,000. And this includes the increases and decreases with the project. Okay, the next few slides show East Loss 3, 4, and 5 with budget versus cost, with a column of expended per per the last month. So you'll see this is by category, and you'll see in the second to the last column, that is what was expended for the month of October. And each of these next few slides show budget to expense by category. With no expenses posted to E5 yet. This is these slides are eSplost expenses by project. The previous was by category. This is by category and project. And it also shows the amount expended per month. And through, that's E3, 4, and 5. And then the last few slides are a comprehensive summary, which shows the original budget, current budget, encumbered, expended, cost to date, and available budget for eSplosh 3, 4, and 5. Have any questions?
It looks like we haven't matched up the E5 schedule to cash flow projections and budget yet. That's to be done. All right. Any questions on E3, 4, 5 financials? Ms. Campbell?
I know that we exceeded what we had planned to collect for E4. Do we have an estimation of what remains after what was allocated for E4?
As far as the,
The overage, how much more we collected than we thought?
I would have to see. I know we were going to cut it off a couple of months ago after that first vote in
Right.
March or April. So we posted April through October additional to the E4.
Okay.
Yeah, the original was like 420 million, and we're going to collect like 480 million.
Now, let's see.
And we needed guidance from the state on how much of that we could keep versus not. That's what I was asking for clarity on.
And we did get a letter from the state saying that the last taxes that we would post to 4 was October.
Because they allow interest
September.
accrual and things like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what needed to happen was the state tells us when you stop collecting, and they told us you could stop collecting there. So there has to be a matchup between what the state tells us and what our resolution authorized, what the voters authorized us to collect. So as long as the state said, here's where you are, I think we're good, right?
As far as I know, I
I am speculating we should ask our legal counsel.
will
Yes.
get you an answer.
Okay. All right,
Okay, thank
thank
you.
you. Ms. Davidson?
All right, so good afternoon. Previously, we discussed the East Blost and our charter schools in our timeline. Based on the committee's feedback, we met with our charter schools and with legal counsel, and we accomplished what you see on the right, even under next steps. So we had a great meeting with them at the end of October. Mr. Holliday was present. Mr. Deacle was present, as well as our charter leaders. And so we walked through kind of our process. I heard very clearly from the committee to make sure that we were keeping everybody on the same playing board. We didn't want the charters to be evaluated differently than our other schools, so we set them at the same standard. And then we will be able to present to you, we'll send in the next committee meeting our full timeline, but based on that standard across the board. But that's just a little update about East Bloss and our charter schools and how we were all able to come together and move forward with our proposed timeline.
Questions? Grabowski?
One of the things that we had talked about when we were initially discussing the charters on East Lost was the ownership and if there was any, for some reason, if a charter school no longer used that facility because public dollars had been utilized to make those improvements or upgrades, we would address that through the agreement. Can you share kind of how we've got that? And it may be case by case and might be better as a follow-up, but just how we've addressed that particular provision.
I'll give you a broad example, and then we can pull all the specifics for you. But say that we were going to invest in HVAC for a building. The charter school or whoever owned the building had to come to an agreement that should they sell that building, we would recoup our funds minus any depreciation. Or we could remove the asset if it was something that was a removable asset. A roof is not as easy to be removed, or HVAC. But there are some items that are capital expenses that could be removed. For example, we call the holder of the laptops or the Chromebooks a cow. You could take the cow out and repurpose it at another East Lost.
All right, thank you. All right, program schedule and cash flow. Mr. Huttinga.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The next two slides are our program schedule. They show kind of the 50,000-foot level, just a single bar in the presentation. For the E3, E4, the 308 projects and the E5 projects. The projects that show in the light blue are 3 and 4. The orange is the 308 funded projects, and then the green is the E5 projects. If you were to draw a line down from between 2025 and 2026, you'd count 25 projects. Right now, we've got 25 projects that we're actively working through, either in pre-proposal, planning, design, or construction, and that amounts to almost $300 million that is in design and construction. So we also did pass out to you a further breakdown of that schedule. We'll be reporting on all of the E3, E4, and 308 projects as we go through the presentation, so I'm not going to make any special mention necessarily of those, but that breakdown does show you a little bit more as to exactly where these projects are and the activities that are going on. As we talk about, this is our roadmap as we walk our way through these programs that we're currently in. And also, please understand that this is dynamic. A program schedule is dynamic. Things change as we go. We decide to do different forms of contract purchasing as we go along. Swing schools open up or close, and so we have to move projects around. And even in E5, we're kind of settling these projects in right now. So it is a very dynamic process, and it will be continued to be refined and reported on every CIC meeting. Our cash flow, and again, we do this for every program. The E3 cash flow, again, showing in green all of the expenditures that have been made, and then projections of expenditures to be made for the months that are following. The blue are the proceeds. Again, actual proceeds up to the current month, and then projections. E3, you can see the only proceeds that we are projecting go into interest and some capital outlay dollars, but all those other funds have all been received. And we've got about 16 million or so to spend yet in E3. So certainly it's our goal to be closing this E3 program next year. We've got to close these projects out, complete the rest of the closeout work and finish the expenditures on those. So that will be our goal next year to close E3 program. And you know that it took almost, 10-plus years now to get through, but we did go through some COVID years in there, and that kind of caused some of this cash flow to get extended out also. Our E4 cash flow, again, same comments as far as expenditures and proceeds are concerned. We're actually at the end of 25 on this one. You see the SPLOST proceeds are ended in the end of this year, along with the TAVIT. We can project some interest projections, and we do have some state capital outlay projects that we're going to be getting some proceeds on also. But there is, on this one, about $200 million left to spend in E4 projects, and those projects are all scheduled out, and we'll be going through those again later on in the presentation also. Mr. Cashmar, you asked about the E5. This would be the report that we'll start generating and start looking at with E5 also. Once we kind of get that schedule settled down in, so that we can do projections on what those expenditures are going to be for E5, and certainly we can make projections on the proceeds. We'll do that. The good thing about this report is that that will show us if we are going to have any areas where we are spending more than what we are receiving. And we got a lot of big projects coming up in E5, obviously, so that will be a concern, and we'll be able to show that everything is online with that. But with that, E3, E4 projects, this program all remains on schedule and in budget.
On our E5 cash flow projections, have we made any alterations for House Bill 581? Have we done any projections at all on changes to what our collections might be?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay, well, should we?
We'll look into it.
Okay.
But thank you for raising
Okay.
it.
I'll talk about it offline with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Hall?
Oh, he already sat down. Mr. Huttinger, I had spoken to the board last month or last couple of weeks ago about the idea of floating a bond so that we could perhaps begin more than one project. In other words, rather than wait until we have the E5 funding, enough capacity there to finish a project, that we could float a bond so that more than one, certainly not 5, but more than one could be started, and then we could easily repay the bond as the funds for E5 came in. And I wondered what you thought about that.
Well, I think this cash flow, when we do the E5 cash flow, will show whether or not that is needed. I will make a comment, and you can see it because you've been through the years of walking and seeing these cash flows come out, and I'm sure you kind of see the big dollars that have been accumulated as we've gone through these programs. We haven't come close to be able to expend those dollars. They have been coming in, the proceeds have well covered the expenditures. And again, realizing that an expenditure in a construction project automatically is about 3 months behind the actual work itself. A lot of times cash flows get pushed back. A large cash flow in a project is FF&E, technology related, and those are way at the end of the project. So as you can see with 2, 3, and 4, we haven't come close to our to having expenditures catch cash flows, but we'll take a good look at that when we do this cash flow.
And I'll just add, and maybe Ms. Davidson can elaborate, cash flow is a piece of it. We also have to assess our human capital capacity to start more than one project, availability of resources. There are a myriad of things, cash flow being one of those important factors.
Absolutely, Madam Superintendent. So cash flow is very important. Excuse me, to start the projects is not that much money, right? So the architect piece, you're talking a small dollar amount. It's the resources for the swing sites. We got to make sure that we have the space to be able to accommodate the students. The is when you get heavy into construction is when the cost jumps up. But we do anticipate, and we'll go back and look at House Bill 581 to make sure that doesn't change our projections, to run multiple projects, to run Bull Street, to run Windsor Forest Elementary, to run Pooler Elementary. So we have several projects that we plan to run at the same time.
And my 581 concern is we spend money in general fund on maintenance and operations, and we have facilities expenditures too. And if those funds get cut, typically what we've done is we've supplemented with East Blost. But if we have to use 20, 30, 40, 50 million of East Blost, that impacts our schedule, and that's all.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Ms. Campbell, and then Dr. Howard Hall, and then Ms. Grabowski.
A few plugs for West Chatham here. So, two specific questions. One is, I see there's a 6-year projection for West Chatham High School and K-8. That seems like an awfully long time. Do we have any sort of like relief, option where, can you at least say aloud here when you expect the K-8 to be ready maybe, since, we have capacity and facility age issues?
Yes, ma'am. It's extremely preliminary at this time, realizing that we have just selected the architect. We're still finalizing that contract and need to turn him loose. He's got to go through programming first to, develop what these buildings are going to look like, and then start put a master plan together. Once he has his master plan together, then we can much better determine what that construction schedule will be. We get a construction manager on board, and that will help also to develop that entire thing. But, the key will be, can we design the building and not disturb the other buildings, or do we have to disturb them? And there are just so many moving components right now, but that is something that is definitely in the works, and we'll have a lot more refinement to be done to it.
Okay, thank you. Any update on the wetland endeavor? Any demographer?
Same thing. We have someone who we will be contracting for that, but again, I'd like to see that master plan kind of come together first, so we can see how much area we really have to delineate, because obviously it's quite a process, and it can be an expensive process too. So when we start getting that master plan coming together, then we'll go out after those delineations.
That sounds reasonable.
We do have a demographer contract.
Yay! Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Okay, so my other question might be a little easier, but I didn't see Bloomingdale timeframe on here for the transition into a K/2 through 8. Where is that going to fall in the timeframe?
So we'll have to, I know the team has met with the architect to just discuss kind of what all this would take. The architect was willing to come back and give us some good ideas. And then once we get the information for a timeline, we'll have to bring that through our general process and back to the committee for a recommendation. Because it will have to fall the Pooler renovation, the West Chatham K-8 and high school, and then Bloomingdale. Where do we want to put that in the process? And remember, that was not on our referendum.
Right.
So that would have to be either E6 or it would have to be general funds.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Dr. Howard Hall?
Yes, due to the escalating cost in resources and expenses, we normally end up with massive change orders. This happens since I've been on the board. I've seen it, after each project. So how are we preparing ourselves for that?
Well, we have been holding the line on change orders very well, and I think you're going to see that in December when we have our next change order. on the quarterly report. I think you can see those change orders being reduced as we have been going through the program. And we've been doing a much more thorough job of getting involved in these designs and making sure that we capture things that we put into allowances and things like that, so that we're prepared for those. We have budgets for those. So everything, at least as far as in 3 and E4 right now, we feel very comfortable that our budgets and our expected cash flow will be able to cover those.
And also, I don't see anything regarding Lower Woodville demolition. It's not on here. And you did reference E6. I'm certainly hoping that that's not planned to be in E6.
Woodville was in E5.
Okay.
And I think, this says Woodville Tompkins, I don't know if it necessarily defines upper or lower, but that's all within the same timeline, yes.
Dusky?
Thank you. So back to your comment, Mr. Ketchmar, about the funding sources and maintenance. I'll make another plug, and maybe this feeds into our next topic of, as we are doing the planning and design of our buildings and budgeting, that we look at life cycle cost analysis so that we can more fully understand replacement schedules, maintenance schedules, and build that all into the budget. Also use that information to make more strategic design decisions, that if it costs a little bit more upfront, but it's going to get us more time for that particular material or design, then we know it's worth it over the life of the building. So I think that's one way that we can try and mitigate some of those expenses that we will not be able to use eSplost money for moving forward. So I hope that's the direction we can move in. I know we're doing that. I know we're doing some of that. I think it's a little bit more informal. Would really love to formalize that process so that we can see as a board what those numbers look like. Thank you.
Ms. Hall?
I want to go back to something Dr. Watts said, and wonder when we can perhaps have a discussion on swing sites, some creative thinking about, right now we have basically two, but what might we do to expand our capacity for that? And whether or not you see the whole capital projects team expanding its capacity. I know the program management piece, but in terms of making sure that we have the expertise and the people who we need so that can all move ahead well.
We can meet and discuss that at any time. We'd be happy to. I will say that Ms. Davidson and I, over the last couple of weeks, the topic of swing sites has come up quite often. One of the things that I think we should all pause and be thankful for in the month of November is that we even have swing sites available. That is not typical in most school districts. Most school districts build around kids, get it done on nights, weekends, and holiday breaks. So the concept of a swing site is very much so an anomaly. And it's a nice to have, but it does create situations where we have to be very coordinated. It almost makes our timeline a little bit more complicated in some ways. It's a good thing and a bad thing because we can only swing one school out and one school in at a time. So that probably does have some impact on extending our timeline because we don't want to build around kids. We want them to be in another setting while we do construction work. So the topic of swing sites has certainly come up. We've talked about potentially using space that maybe we hadn't thought about as swing sites in the past. But as far as it relates to our portfolio of facilities, we have limited buildings in which we can use. I mean, we don't have a lot of buildings in our portfolio of schools that would allow us to do another swing site. So I think that's the challenge, but that is something that we're thinking about. It's an evolving concept. In terms of our team's expansion, as you all know, we just went through a pretty massive reorg. We're looking to bring on a third-party vendor. We need to assess where we are with that, get started with that, and then we can then go back to the playing field and see where we might need to put some additional resources.
Reverend Smith?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation so far. Quick question for you, just piggybacking off of what Ms. Denise Grabowski said. As we look at surveying and planning for the future, would you say that we have been doing that at a A status, B status, C status, D status, F? Does that question make sense?
I think it depends on what part you look at, right? As a district, I think that we are always in the business of improvement. And so I would say that I would rate us as needs improvement, but I can see that we are making significant improvement. And to be fair, I wasn't here, so I can't say what all the pieces were. But I do believe that we have made some strong improvement under the direction of Dr. Watts and continuing to push, as well as, you know, our staff coming on and our staff that we're leveraging. So I do believe we are moving in a very positive direction.
Have you been able to identify any areas or any ways that we can further improve? When I think about Durant Middle School is now in need of a renovation of some sort, and that school is not very old. Pulaski is a school that was recently built and added on to, and now it needs modules for more space. So have we been able to identify what we can do to button up those loose ends?
So I would say that we are first bringing in the demographer, because oftentimes in the past, when we looked at something, we might have been looking at it more in a little granular view, but now we're trying to look at it very comprehensive, so that demographer will not only tell us about how many babies were born, the birth rates, this, movement within the community, the permits going up for apartments or new businesses coming in. They also are helping us look at how many students are homeschooled that we can find out, how many are getting the scholarship that may be going to a private school. So that very comprehensive analysis is what we're attempting to be very strategic with, as well as we are leaning into accountability. So holding our vendors accountable. We did at one time go to what I call value engineering. We tried to cut our cost, and some of our schools in the 90s show that value engineering, which in the long term, it costs us more money. So trying to make sure that, yes, if we make the investment up front, it is expensive. We honor that. We are very transparent about it. But the long-term life cycle will be, double or triple or 25% more, whatever it is. We're also leaning into data. Historically, we haven't had the collection of all these data so that we could do the analysis. Now our team is being able to collect the data, analyze the data to make sure that we're making the appropriate measures, whether it's deferred maintenance or day-to-day maintenance is not getting done. Is it taking us too long for our parts? So it's a definite swing, but it's a positive change.
Just out of curiosity, would you happen to know how many years we implemented or practiced value building?
I could not tell you. I can tell you when I walk the buildings, the ones
It's
that look
not
like.
really that's our approach. It's kind of like a project by project.
Right,
Hey,
okay.
our scope is beyond our budget, so what can we cut kind of approach. When I first got on the board in August of 2011, one of the first things I voted on was to spend like $600,000 to replace drywall in a kindergarten wing
Wow.
that had been up for about 6 months or so. And I said, why did we put drywall up? And that's when I learned the term value engineering. But to Ms. Grabowski's point, in East Floss 2 and on, that's when we started looking at life cycle and limiting the scope of what we would spend money on to minimize our maintenance costs and all that kind of stuff. And to be fair, we got really good at it about looking at that data and taking that proactive approach until about COVID. And then everything went to heck in a handbasket, and we had people changes and focus changes. And so I think we're kind of re-engaging with a lot of our data analysis and proactivity. So it's kind of been like a ebb and flow, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Ms. Campbell?
One more little question. Let's see, 39, slide 39, I see Academic Center, Savannah High School. What's the plan for that?
That was to have the academic leadership, both Dr. Barnes and Mr. Butler and their teams be present at Savannah High School, but on the early college side.
Awesome. So we're still planning that. I love that.
We're still planning that, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And then I guess my other question then would be, it looks like Bull Street would be done before then. What's our lease time again for Georgia Tech? I can't remember.
I believe it's a annual lease for up to 5 years, but I'd have to confirm that.
And we're good with the same lease, et cetera, even if we need space for, or some of these people currently at Georgia Tech that would be at Savannah High?
No, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Dr. Howard Hall?
I do have another question. We just recently passed East Blast, and we know that there's going to be many other projects going on within the county. So do you think that perhaps floating a bond would assist us with providing the guidance that we need for human capital, because we might be in competition with a lot of other different vendors?
Well, again, I'm kind of resisting the floating the bond, to be honest with you. Not so much that. Because I'm not sure if it's really needed, to tell you the truth. And we can only do so much as far as resources are concerned again. And so far, we're finding that the market is available for us. In fact, we got a number of projects right now that are out for bid, either through RFP or even through a hard bid, and we're getting excellent responses. So, and that can be the ebb and flow, there's no doubt about that, and we need to be ready when it goes down here or such. But as far as the dollars are concerned, no, I think we can put together that cash flow, we can look at it, and we can kind of see if there's going to be some areas or not, but.
Yes, I guess my concern is the escalating cost of resources. And the longer you wait, the more expensive things will become. Just my thoughts.
Right, yeah.
That's definitely something we can utilize our partnership with finance and A&M to help us confirm the projections.
On the flip side is tariffs might go away in a few years. And
There you go.
the other issue is are the trades available? There's only so many electrical companies and all that out there. We've run into that problem before too. So everybody, I'd love to float bonds and get everything built in year one. Not doable. Well, on the issue of human capital, gosh, if there were only some private companies that could help. Do we have a plan for that?
We do have a
Oh,
plan
what-
for that.
Interesting.
So I think Bill is ready to run. So we're going to speak today about our project management scope. Adhering to the legal challenges, we cannot release the draft RFP, but what we are going to do is to highlight some very general terms and discuss them. So as a team, the team put together the idea that the project management company would be utilized for new and replacement schools, major renovations, and for items that are $15 million or above. So this allows our team to still be heavily involved in the smaller projects, keep their skills very astute, and also allows us to leverage our third-party partners for those more expensive projects. Remember that our new schools and our replacement schools are well above $15 million. Unless the costs come down. So the program management scope of services, so we want the team to support us by project planning, scheduling, the whole phase of that, tracking our costs. However, we will utilize our ERP system, so Munis will still be utilized and leveraged. We will still leverage all of our systems, but this will allow everybody to be on the same point when it comes to financial reporting, construction coordination, across the campuses. So they're really going to be on that construction site, managing those contractors day to day, just like our team were historically. The quality assurance and the compliance monitoring, so they have to be held to Godot, Georgia Department of Education, or East Blost, or any other standard, right? That's the piece they're gonna dive in, and they're gonna be held to code compliance, all the fun that comes along with quality assurance. The schedule management, when it comes to project management, we know that some of the most important things are the timeline and the budget, right? Those are very important, so we will elevate that. Again, the safety, environmental, other kinds of compliance, stakeholder communication and documentation. So this is very important to make sure that we offer a high level of customer service to our communities, to our schools, which are our customers. So that is where we have to make sure that we are timely communicating and communicating in a very transparent and appropriate tone, especially for our parents. They want to know what's going on at their schools, so this will be very helpful. And then for the closeout and the warranty phase, so making sure we get that punch list addressed and accomplish everything that we need to before the warranty is out.
Ms. Hall?
I'd like to stay on your stakeholder communication and documentation for a minute, to expand it just a bit. Certainly, parents play an important part, but I'd like to have the contract, if not state, at least imply that there'll be a collegial, interactive relationship with the company and the superintendent and the board, so that we will be flexible and, we're not like giving you the car keys and you're going and we'll see you, like I said the other day, at the ribbon cutting. So the fact that our superintendent represents us and we will have possibly things to say. We're not going to be hindrances, but we want to know that the door is open for discussion at any time. Does everybody pretty much agree? That's what we're looking for.
I'll reinforce that because ultimately I'm accountable. At the end of the
Okay.
day, all the other people are support, but at the end of the day, you all hold me accountable. So I see no other way than
Okay.
us having a collaborative and joint accountable relationship.
Dr. Watts, we've kind of been in some relationships where the customer service piece has kind of been not upheld and observed.
Thank you for highlighting
So
that.
that's why.
It will be emphasized.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so they will really be an extension of the SEC PSS team, so they will work hand in hand with our capital programs and our maintenance team, but our capital programs and maintenance team will have the oversight. I heard loudly that historically, there wasn't really a oversight from our side in some instances. And so this allows for us to be a partner, but we still have to make sure that before we pay the bill, we're in agreement, right? So we are all on the same page.
Mr. Moss?
This is great. I just want to make sure that, I'm so glad all you guys are here today. Just want to make sure that when we're looking at them, we are looking at their reputation and documents that they have done these things, that they have had great relations with school boards, that they have done good closeouts. Closeouts are very important. They keep us out of trouble. That they have stakeholder relations, that this is not going to be a new thing for them. So I hope you guys are writing these things down. But I think we need to do, we need to be very thorough at our investigation. I don't mean that negatively, guys, but our investigation into whoever we're going to hire. So
Yes, sir. And as part of our general procurement process for RFPs, we do follow up with past experience, referrals, and get information to understand, would you utilize this vendor again? What was your experience? So that, I would imagine, would be part of the same process.
Pastor Smith.
Alderman Smith?
I totally agree with Mr. Moss on that statement. I guess my question would be, how do we bring on newer companies? How are they measured and brought in, if that question makes sense?
So how can we ensure that we're attracting new vendors, if I understand correctly?
Giving them opportunities
And giving-
where possible.
So I would ask that finance speak to that. I don't want to overstep and speak.
As far as the responses to RFPs, we will try to make sure that they all understand the RFP as it goes out. We'll make sure the review team takes a look at all of the applicants to make sure that if they put together a team from various contractors, that they're all looked at, on an equal level. The process, it takes a while, it takes a few months, and it gives us plenty of time to review, to ask a lot of questions, to make sure all vendors, all responders are asked the same questions, to make sure they're all evaluated on the same platform. But as far as brand new applicants per se, most of the time for big projects like this, they team up with veterans to submit a proposal, and that's what we're hoping for the next go round, that they do team up with veterans and submit a packet that they can include themselves, and they're not considered a brand new applicant that would kind of hold their experience against them.
Gotcha. I mean, because when I think about, let's just use J.E. Dunn, an amazing company, but at this point now they're veterans, but at some point they were rookies, right? Mm-hmm. And we were able to give them a chance and continue to grow and to become the amazing company that has given us amazing work. So I just want to make sure that we give opportunities and open doors to those in need.
And we do, I believe Bonfire does send out information when something's posted, so if they're registered, as well as we do utilize, like Mr. Formey is great to walk anybody through the process if you've never been a vendor before, as well as our procurement team, but he's always a resource to help individuals understand, like the insurance process or other pieces that might be challenging.
Thank you.
Dr. Howard Hall?
Yes, you somewhat alluded to it about the LMWBEs, LMWBs, I'll make sure I said LMWBE portion of this. So what role would that play within the project manager contract?
Yes, ma'am. So
As far as the procurement?
The procurement. So based on the recent legislation, we amended that to be local, to be compliant with the federal guidelines, but it does allow us to make sure that we allow for emphasis on local and how you can best support our community and what that looks like within the community.
We repackaged local.
Thank you for keeping us under the law. Okay. Yeah, so one thing I do want to make a distinction between, hiring contractors and hiring program managers. Contractors, you may have a new contractor that you may be able to hire. We're hiring someone that is going to overlook, $700 million. I love giving new people a chance. I'm not going to give someone who's never done it before $700 million. So, but, the idea of people, getting together with veterans who have done this before, that's, yeah. But if you just come in off the street and you want to be a program manager, I want a Tony Award. But I just want to make that distinction.
Ms. Hall?
And I think whoever mentioned the idea of a hybrid, that sounds probably what we're looking for, because that gives us expertise, but it also gives us the capacity to let firms grow into their excellence. So I think that idea is very good. We've kind of had that model in other ways, where we've had a big company, and then we had some of our local minority contractors working with them. So we've been through that model. It's not like that's something new to us, but it is new in terms of program management, the thought of that. So
Well, our last two program management contracts were teams. They weren't singular.
that's true. They were teams. They were teams.
Ms. Campbell?
I'm glad we brought up oversight of vendors. I think that's great that we've thought that through and we're being very cognizant of it. Any idea on a time frame for getting our assistant COO?
So that is on me to get the assistant chief. So I plan to get that job description. I'd hoped to already have it done, but other pieces elevated. So in November, I will get it to HR for them to review and post as they approve.
You do a lot, so it would be great for you to also have someone to outsource to a little bit. But I'm assuming that then the program management would be their primary contact,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes, as well as Drayvon and Ross.
Yes.
Would be primary contacts, but that associate chief will be the one who oversees this third party very heavily.
Awesome, thanks.
Ms. Grabowski?
Well, I was going to wait for the discussion slide, but I think we're already there, so I'll just go ahead and chime in. I don't want to miss my chance. Can you go back one slide?
And yes, ma'am.
So when we were talking about the stakeholder communication, I made a note in particular, but I think this is true for the entire RFP document. Because this will be very much a team approach, where our team is working very closely with our program management team, I think it's really important, and will get the best product for us and also help the respondents provide the best proposal they can. If we can provide as much clarity as to expectations as to what roles we will fill and what roles we expect them to fill, and how we might manage any transitions that might happen along the way, because that's where I think we can end up with unmet expectations or challenges when there's a lack of clarity around that. And as someone who, in my professional career, responds to these for a living, it can be really frustrating when you're trying to read the mind of the person who put together the RFP when it's not clear what the intent is. So the more clarity we can provide around scope for us, scope for them, and where there's overlap, I think that's going to be a better result. And I think about that in particular with the stakeholder communications, because I think it's really important for us to remain the face of those stakeholder communications. We're going to rely very heavily on our team. But in some instances, the program manager might have a stronger role, and we might have a stronger role. I do think it's important when we are looking at the stakeholder communication that we talk about how we do that within the context of our design guidelines, where that flexibility might lie, how much of a voice the school principal has in the school community versus where we're sticking to our design guidelines. And there's also communication in the design process as well as communication in the construction process. So thinking clearly through each of those stages, again, is another important thing, I think, for us to be mindful of. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I'm very pleased to say that it has been a team effort, and I have many people on my team that are smarter than I am, and they have been through this before in different areas. So they had the opportunity to provide feedback and to redline the document to make sure that we are putting forward our best product, but we will go back and make sure we're as transparent as possible for those that may want to submit. They understand to the best of our ability what we're asking for.
And just to comment on the partnering, what criteria should we be using? And I haven't seen the RFP. I don't know what the scoring is going to be, just to be clear. But if you look back at our program management contracts and our general contracts with vendors, we tend to get in more trouble when we put more emphasis on one criteria, and that's like the deciding dispositive factor. It's when we have 3 or 4 key metrics that all balance each other out that we tend to get better contracts. So we've had some before where we said, this is 80% of your score, and it turned into lawsuits and cost overruns. So that's a cautionary lesson, I think. But, all right, any other discussion on the program management, high-level overview, the timeline, RFP, et cetera? Ms. Grabowski?
Sorry. We've talked about this before, and I know it's in there, but we do have some specialized historic structures that I know we're talking about, including skill set and understanding of those historic buildings. We've also talked a lot internally among CIC about, in our design guidelines, that, sustainability is kind of in there, but really needs, in my opinion, a lot more clarification and intentionality. So I think having someone with experience with high-performance healthy schools is incredibly important, as well as the site design process, because I think sometimes we end up with more of the commercial approach as opposed to the community approach for our site designs, which we've had discussions around how the implications for not only the surrounding community, but also accessibility for multiple modes of travelers, whether you're walking, biking, driving, or riding by bus. So those are some other tidbits I would throw out for consideration.
Thank you.
Well, it goes back to the goal of having updated design guidelines done and reviewed and voted on by the board, as here's our policy, so everybody knows what the expectations are before we actually dive into this work.
And that is our plan, sir. So we will bring before the next CIC, it was too much to put in one. So in January, we'll bring before the CIC, and that allows us to have additional time to meet with our vendors. We're going to allow all of our vendors to have feedback on the design, construction design guidelines, to make sure that we are accommodating all of their feedback to the best of our ability, not making it sole source, but just they are the experts, so they can help make sure in our design guidelines we've accomplished it, and then it would go before the board in February.
And we looked at this a few years ago, but given where the market is, we may want to look at our schedules that are attached to our procurement policies, just to make sure they're reflective of market so we can remain competitive as part of that process. Please. Ms. Hall?
Forgive my lack of expertise, but this timeline seems kind of long to me.
Yes, ma'am. So the reason it is long is because there is a lengthy procurement process. So it has to go out for so much time, and then that does allow the committee, we don't know how many responses we're going to get. In one of our recent RFPs, we had over 30 qualified vendors, and so it's a very thick document to have to go through. So this allows for what we believe is the worst-case scenario. It's subject to change, but it does take a long time to do a thorough bid process.
Well, it looks like 5 or 6 right now. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, and that's, so you're saying our human capacity to review, that's what's causing this length?
Some of it, but some of it is just the legal requirement. So it has to go through procurement, it has to go through legal. You're required to leave it out there for, I believe it's 30 days. So it just has to sit out on the market for at least 30 days to get the vendors time to respond, and then our team, whoever is on the committee, time to go through those responses that procurement has vetted and believe can move forward based on the requirements.
I just don't want any of our possible partners to lose interest because, and I'm thinking they won't. I'm hoping that the cost, the money will keep them enthralled with us. But also, things happen. Everything's impermanent. So anything that we can do on our side to keep things moving. I understand what you're saying, that there's some provisions that are in law that have to be carried through, but anything on our side that we can keep moving things along, I think that would be to our advantage.
Yes, ma'am.
Ross?
I'm just going to piggyback on something Ms. Grabowski said and just really emphasize this. We have some projects that will be under a lot of scrutiny because not everyone was excited about them, especially one project. We have to have someone who understands historic preservation. You've got to understand it. Because we make one mistake there and we are doomed. So, I've said it, I hope you wrote it down, but it's essential. It's essential that you understand sustainability. Because we will be that board that emphasizes that. So, those are my two pet peeves, so.
Dr. Howard Hall?
Mr. Moss, would that be contingent upon who's on the committee? As far as the position, job titles, not really a particular name. For example, the committee for the RFP, would there be educators involved?
So generally, when we form our committees, we bring in individuals who are experts from within our team and individuals who are outside of our team. So I'll give you an example. When we did the RFP for West Chatham for the architect, we brought in Dr. Brown to sit on that because he has the experience. So sometimes you have a principal, sometimes you might have somebody who is a community member, sometimes, but we do try to find, to the best of our ability, individuals that are our employees and leverage those employees.
And I guess the reason why I asked is because we found that it wasn't wise to put a band room on second floor
Yes, ma'am.
at a school.
Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of times we don't consider course teachers, athletic department, those people who work within a school that a principal might not even be too cognizant of during that
Cognizant
time.
of.
So we just need to be a little more mindful of exactly what expertise does each member have when we're selecting the committee, because those little things
Yes.
that sound little aren't so little once the structure has been erected, so.
And one piece that we had learned is that the best opportunity is to have the design reviewed by multiple parties. So we will leverage our partners, like Dr. Barnes, Mr. Butler, those individuals, as well as others within the school, so that you don't have, hopefully, oversight of building a band room on a second floor. That was just an opportunity for improvement.
All right, let's move on.
All right, so we did have a space for discussion. And I think
You know us.
so I appreciate all this discussion. We are going to ask that the committee members utilize Menti. We will work to see what other technology opportunities we can utilize in the future, but we had Menti in here. So this is for committee members only. There is a QR code that you can scan, or you can join the Menti code below.
Oh,
Oh, did I get rid of it? I'm sorry.
yes. yes.
Sorry, I'll go back.
number two.
I was gonna try to
Oh,
go
I'm sorry.
live.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
Here we go.
Everybody have an opportunity to get it?
Yeah, hang on.
No rush. Just in order of importance. So once you log in, it's going to ask for what qualities are most important and a project management partner. Now, these are values and not qualifications. That is a statement we must make, and you're just ranking them.
Are your DraftKings notices?
Okay, mine's not working. Let's try. Where's the QR code? Where's the QR?
No, you can't find me.
No, I've got it. Yeah. I got it. Ah, nice.
No, everybody.
Board.
Not the audience, just committee member.
37 votes.
Yeah,
Mine is not
sorry. Last time we had audience members voting, so this is board members only. Board members only, yes, ma'am.
Okay, mine's
Somebody
not.
voted. You didn't vote?
I can't do it. Can't get in.
9 votes.
I'm like, uh-uh.
Yeah, it probably is.
I don't know if I can.
Why don't we just move on?
Let's move on. That's fine.
All right, so based on the votes, what we have right now is deep K-12 experience. Transparency comes in this next. Strong communication, data-driven reporting, predictability, and then we always add a space for other. So let's take a minute and unpack that, because the communication, the verbal communication is always important to have in the room. So would any board members like to elaborate on their voting and why you voted the way you did?
Sure. I'm always willing to elaborate. You know what I'm going to say, you didn't have my criteria up there, so I went with other.
Yes.
And I've lived through the experience of kind of what we touched on before, which is the program manager being focused on schedule and budget and full speed ahead and not listening to the owner, be it regular consultations with the owner or following our design guidelines. And I want the right balance because I think some of the product we put out in the last decade, some of it's been good, but some of it is not. We haven't taken into account board values as expressed in policy, and so I just want to make sure we're attuned to that issue. And I agree with everything else.
How would you characterize that, like in a word or a phrase? I understand what you're articulating. I'm trying to figure out how to capture it in the RFP.
Accountability, cognizant of
Collaboration,
Owner-
joint, something.
owner wishes. I'll put it in the ChatGPT and
Okay.
come up with
Gi-
something.
Give us a word or phrase, but I do understand the concept.
Yeah.
I think-
Understanding of owner desires and guidelines and willingness to comply with them.
If I may, I think part of that goes also to management style and process. What tools and documentation will the program manager be using to clearly communicate when decisions are made, by whom they are made, how they are, like, we need very clear documentation on what that decision process looks like and who is authorized to sign off on what decisions. And I think that that can help some of that, so that if something is so driven by schedule, that, and if the owner says, you know what, we think this is more important than schedule right now, that it's clearly documented how that decision is made and by whom it was made.
Well, and the flip side of that is also who's the owner? It's not the principal on site who says, I prefer blue instead, you know, who's the owner? So it's defining that too. It works both ways.
The design guidelines are.
Right. Ms. Hall?
On the deep K-12 experience, I want to be sure that it's someone who understands that the classrooms, the spaces that our children are learning in are so different now from what most adults can remember. We're no longer 5 rows of kids and the teacher's desk at the front. So somebody who's just eager to give our kids dignity in terms of what their learning spaces look like. And I was telling Denise that I wish she could be on the committee because we want the environmental piece strongly stressed, that our kids are in a healthy and green and lush, you know, kind of space. So
Design guidelines.
I would love for
that's
that.
why the
Yeah.
design guidelines are going to be so important.
I would love for us to make sure, whoever's taking notes for the team, that we do include innovative and future-facing.
Yeah,
Sometimes deep K-12 experience grounds us in the past.
that's right.
Instead of giving us a future orientation.
That's right.
So it's got to be a balance, because if we go with the deep experience, it's more of the same.
And Dr. Watts, that's why I was asking in terms of newer people coming in, that we need that innovation and ideas from younger, you know, persons than a lot of us are. Okay, I'll say it like that.
People can still have good ideas.
Absolutely. Old people have good ideas, but it's nice to have somebody on the cutting edge
Yes, ma'am.
to help us along.
Mr. Moss?
And I don't know if we can legally require this, but one thing I would really,
Right.
I know,
I'm nervous.
alert the lawyers. Brian,
Brian got nervous.
buckle up. No, I want, and I don't know if we require it, I want the opportunity for our students to participate, either as interns or somehow be involved in this, because I want our kids to learn how to be program managers. So, is that okay, Brian?
Child labor.
Yeah, I think we're already doing that. I think it could be something to explore. The question is, in terms of how the bids are evaluated, to what
Okay.
to what that looks like in the proposal and how it's valued or how it
Okay.
fits in.
Okay.
I think some of what we're talking about is kind of in the global.
I know.
Yes.
And maybe not in this particular contract, like some of the ideas that have just been discussed today might be in the global sense of construction and design, but.
We're taking it
but
all
maybe
in.
not.
Dr. Howard Hall?
Yeah, for me, it's just basic, elementary, that's my background. So I had the 5 questions written down. What are you doing? You need to have a deeper understanding with K-12 education. When, that's the timeline. Who, ownership. How, that's when the data needs to come in, data-driven, and why, that's communication, strong communication. So if you can stick to those 5 questions, the W's, I think we'll be pretty good. With the exception of the H for how.
All right, let's go to the next one.
All
So we've
right.
got more slides to go through.
What must this program management partnership accomplish that cannot be missed?
You have to,
Oh, I can show you the code again. It should be. It didn't advance? Uh-oh. Well, we may.
please wait for the presenter to change slides.
I'm like, uh-oh. Okay, let's see.
that one work? Nope, okay. Well, yeah, now it's working, right?
Did it
Maybe.
advance for you?
There we go.
Thank you. And the good news is nobody's voted in this one yet.
We had 9 last time. QR code. There you go. You need your QR code reader. All right, let's.
Okay, so at the end of the day, all of these pieces are very important, but your feedback allows us, when we're evaluating the RFP, to understand which may have a greater significance upon the others. So we won't dive too much into the discussion, but I did want to highlight, of course, we honor the importance of delivering projects on time and on budget, and according to our construction design guidelines. We do have an opportunity to strengthen our transparency and our reporting. We've heard that feedback today and appreciate that. We want to manage the construction disruptions. This is very important that our students still have the opportunity to learn and that the noise or other pieces is minimalized, and then supporting the long-term facility planning and documentation. So the master planning is very important. If it pleases you, sir, Chair, we will move forward with the rest of the presentation.
Let's move forward. Yep. Thank you. I love how deliver everything on time and on budget, but do everything else too.
Do everything else too.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to stand before you all as in the newly organized capital programs and maintenance. I'm Dre Jones.
Ross Kearney. We're gonna have to work on how this mic goes. We are, we're gonna work on it. I'll go ahead and get started. We're gonna run through these project updates rather quickly, so you don't have to stay here all night. This is just an overview of Windsor Forest. Right now, J.E. Dunn is working on the parking lot aspect of this, building up the grade, working well with our occupied campus. There hasn't been any issues with the principal and the students. And they're also inside of our existing gymnasium, finishing up the renovation portion, which should be done at the end of this year. Picture of Windsor Forest High School. This is a current picture. As you can see, you're seeing that parking lot grade being elevated. Okay.
So for Jacob G. Smith, currently, the foundation has already been laid for the security vestibule up front, as well as the slab, and in the rear for the cafeteria, they're working on the foundation. All interior demo has already been completed. Also for Georgetown, we went out there yesterday. We're still waiting on a permit for the gym, but the construction on the inside is going extremely well. The demo has also been complete. They're also working on the interior rough end for the electrical as well as the plumbing. And I believe you all have already seen this slide.
All right, Hebert Middle School, we actually have a community meeting coming up in December 9th to discuss the drawings and plans with the community for that particular site. We have an RFP out there that is due in a couple of weeks, December 4th. We'll be pulling in those proposals and working with the committee to select our new CMR. And this is another one I think that you've all seen. It just displays the scope of work within the renovations that are coming up.
For Garden City Elementary, still currently in design, going through programming, and we'll be starting schematic design really soon. For the Alternative Learning Center, this isn't just going to be another facility for building bridges and for wings and for the e-learning. It truly will be an alternative learning facility. The design is complete, and we expect the bids to close the second week in December. And you also have already seen the site plan.
All right, Gamble Road. We do have a RFP out there right now. It has been shortlisted. We plan to interview the 3 firms this week, and we will move forward with selecting our new CMR for Gamble Road. The architect has started working with us for the programming of the new maintenance facility, which will be that final phase of work. We'll be heading into schematic design after a couple of these programming meetings continue. Islands High School, new stadium expansion. Things are going along pretty well. We have run into a few hiccups with the existing site. This used to be an airstrip, and it seems as though when it was cut, the trees and woods were cut back. They buried the woods inside what we're trying to build bleachers on top of right now. So we're excavating those, working with our geotechnical engineer as far as getting approval on how to fill that area with rock and dirt. But this has not delayed anything, and we still plan to have the stadium complete and ready for the soccer season.
For Pulaski K-8, the modular unit is already in place. This is adding 4th grade classrooms with the modular unit, currently completing the canopies as well as the sidewalks. For the gym, it is complete also. We have a slide with a picture next. And Savannah High School for the baseball and softball artificial turf project. It is currently in design. We're spending a little bit more time on geotechnical. As we all know about the unsuitable soils we have here in Savannah, but it is on time. For the roof replacement projects, we're using our annual contractors for the Myers and Woodville Tompkins. We're just going through the standard contracting process right now with those. And Gould is also under construction.
All right, and lastly, our HVAC projects right now, Woodville Tompkins was recently awarded has had the pre-construction, and we're working towards starting that project up. Allen's High School is well underway and continues. It should be finishing up at the beginning of the year. Port Wentworth's facility, we're working with our FF&E vendors to try to expedite everything to get all our folks in there quickly and within the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll start moving up on our pace and getting everything ready. These are our E5 projects we're looking at right now. Of course, you've heard West Chatham with Hussey Gay Bell has been awarded, working through the contracts now before we begin our design kickoff for programming. We have recently worked within our team to move on to our annual contracts for 3 of these 4 projects you're looking at now, which would be Windsor Forest, Pooler, and Ellis. And we'll be working with those design professionals through and to obtain contracts and move forward with those projects.
So you guys have been presented the fencing project several times. We're still working through some of the scope with Campus Police. This one for Butler is how the fencing will take place, and we'll be coming forth with the other ones pretty soon.
Questions on project up?
This really is for Dr. Watts. Since we're keeping the children at Hubert, that means we've exhausted all ideas of doing anything else but that. So
Actually, I need to defer to the team. That has also been an ongoing conversation, and I'm not sure where we landed the plane on it.
It is to keep students on site right now. We're hoping to get that CMR to help us bring in and create a plan for phasing and how to not be disruptive within the construction.
I see, okay.
Say, as recent as the last 3 to 5 days, this has been a conversation with Ms. Davidson and I, and we did explore potentially using another site as a temporary site. So it sounds like, though, you all have decided.
Well, when we went to Hubert for the boundary meeting, I did ask for their administrative team to give feedback. I understand the history at that site of the construction and how it overall was not well received. And so I wanted to get their feedback. The prior principal was confident that we could accomplish leaving the students there because they're only at about 50% occupancy for the building. But I would like to allow the new administrative team to give feedback and to confirm if they do come back and say that it's not an option, then I have presented, and I'll tell you offline the site. There is a potential site that I think could be utilized, but it's unique. It's not been a swing site in the past, and it just has to work. Like, many pieces have to fall before that could happen. But we are very sensitive to the community that of all the construction noise, and we don't want to impact any academic success due to construction challenges.
Okay.
We are exploring
Okay.
every possible scenario.
Well, we've had experience with both. We've certainly had situations where we had to keep the children. I believe Jenkins, because we thought about sending them to Savannah State and all that, and nothing worked. So we did get through that. It can be done. So it just takes, I guess, a lot of creativity and patience and cooperation from the parents and, and the students and all. But again, to me, that's something going forward as we get into E5, that's going to be very important for us to identify whatever, because what you're thinking about may end up being a real, blessing to us. So thank you for thinking about it.
The overarching question that I keep going back to is a question of equity. So we've swung 2 schools to swing sites. So the question remains is, why would we do those 2 and not Hubert? And so it's an equity issue for me, right? So why would we leave kids in one place, but in the other 2 places we felt the urgency and the need to swing them?
Howard Hall.
For our alternative learning center, which would be at the old Mercer, there are 4 programs within the building, and they all have different grade spans. So how are we accommodating those diverse needs? And could you talk a little about the shared space? And the
Yes.
separation, especially of the Wings program, because those are, I think, grades K through 5. And then you have your Building Bridges Middle, then your Building Bridges High School,
So
along with,
both Sela, I'm sorry. go ahead.
yes.
So both Sela and Building Bridges High School go up through 12th grade. In addition to Building Bridges Middle School and High School, Sela, the Savannah Chatham E-Learning Academy, and Wings Elementary School, we're also going to have the hearing office, the district hearing office will be taking up some of the office space in the media center. That building will have 5 different security vestibules. Now, we understand that security is a primary concern, but the greatest concern is educating our students. So they will be safe, they will be secure. We're using a combination of access control. We've already run through that with our district technology, innovation, and strategic officer, Nicole Callahan. We're going to have each individual program, each school will have its own entrance with its own security vestibule, as well as its own security officer.
Okay, will there be enough room for the counselor suites, and
Absolutely.
how many security officers will be there, since there's so many different moving pieces going on? Would there be just one?
Now, I'll defer to our campus police for that question. I know we have allocated a security vestibule and space in the hearing office, which was the old media center. We've also allocated space in all 4 schools or programs. I've had conversations with a number of our educators in the district. I've also spoken with Ms. Kim McGuire, with Andrea Burkett. So we've had a collaborative experience. Both Dr. Barnes and Butler have been on our calls from the beginning, from the schematic design, before we ever put anything on paper. So we've ensured that we have not only enough educational academic spaces, but we also have enough spaces for our counselors. For these schools, historically, they have not had enough spaces. The principal's office typically served as a space where they would come in and have conferences. So we've included extra counselor spaces as well as conference rooms.
And also, I know it's landlocked, and I know it's with the traffic there, and since we won't be providing transportation as of now, to use the alternative schools, the parents have to make sure they get there. Have y'all considered smooth transition for coming in and exiting and interesting for the car riders?
Absolutely. So right now, we're located at Hopkins, and so when there's testing and we have all of our CELA students coming and all of our Building Bridges students coming, we've experienced a lot of the extra load on the parking space. So one of the things that we're doing for our site work is we're expanding the parking lot in the rear of the school. So the CELA students who drive, the Building Bridges students who drive, as well as the parents who like to come and drop their students off and wait there will have enough parking as well.
Okay. Look like you've been doing your homework.
All right, it's 3:30. We are going to wrap up. Mr. Jones and Mr. Kearney, welcome to your new roles. We're excited for you.
Thank you.
We're not as mean as we might seem. Mr. Huddinga, Ms. Davidson, thank you for your continued efforts and the entire team. A lot of work's gone into the E5 planning already, and we're excited to get things going. You know how we are. We want everything. We want the ribbon cutting in January. So thank you for the effort so far, and we are adjourned.